Are you there? Yes, you're there.
There's only people with see the behind the
Yes.
It's so chaotic.
I love that people see and think we're so well organized. That's the best part of this. The illusion is alive. So we have Kathleen Dixon. We're going to discuss her spending 90,000 US dollars on courses to self-improve. And I want to know what she figured out, what she learned, and where she wants to invest her money going forward. And we're going to do that today
On a
Wonderful Chaos. Hey, Bambos.
Hey, Andy. So we didn't even check in. How are you today?
I'm good. I've been eating a bit like junk foody stuff, so I've noticed my body isn't doing so well. Like I notice when I kind of lose that mind-body connect, I'm not as centered. So I haven't been eating as well, so I don't feel as centered. And I've been drinking more coffee. So all the things I gave up and felt really good at, somehow they've been creeping back in. It's like the month 3 of this COVID time. It's like, oh, I had 2 months to be disciplined. Now the 3rd month I can give up. But in general, I'm well. How are you?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's nice.
Yeah.
Anything noteworthy going on?
No, just really feeling at peace. I'm just feels like I'm just living from a good space.
Nice. So today, Kathleen Dixon.
Like, have you spent money on courses? Like, to what degree? Like,
How much have I spent on
Yeah.
course? I can't say I've spent that much money on courses.
yeah, me neither.
Yeah, I mean, I'll do courses here and there. There's one thing that I've always been so suspicious of with courses, and it's this, is that I always feel them selling to like the lack of, or to the, you want to make a lot of money. So there's the success-based coaching, right? We'll make you independent. Find your true purpose.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, you've got the sort of, your life is all about suffering. Let me help you make peace with that suffering. So we've got the Eastern, right? The more Eastern-like courses that are far more about being at peace with the moment. And we've got these more Western, we're overly generalized, but these more Western courses that are all about success and prestige and living your full life. And somehow I haven't identified with either of those to make it so valuable that I wanted to spend money to do a course.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I won't do courses here and there, but they're usually $100.
Yeah, like your breathwork investment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if I find like in the breathwork, I mean, I found Kathleen Franken, who does a great breathwork. And what did I do? I bought 4 people 1-hour sessions with her. She said, you have to go do this. I mean, that's sort of more valuable for me because I get this sort of experience. And I guess that's what I'm looking for. Now, it's interesting. I want to invest in an experience. Like I want to have an experience, and then I want that experience to be integrated in a way that I now can take value from that. So I'm very much, it's interesting. I've known this, but it's interesting to be talking about here, is I'm very much about what is my experience and not about what can you teach me. I'm more curious on what's the experience that I might have with you, and then how does that reshape my understanding of the world, which is also why I'm interested in psychedelics. Right? Because that's another means of seeing a different lens of the world and letting that inform you in terms of like, what do you now understand or see differently because of that? Yeah.
Yeah, I with psychedelics, I always feel that if I don't have a question in my mind, then there's no reason for me to do them. Because it's an
Exploration?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an exploration.
But I mean, let's also be clear. You've done enough drugs that you actually have explored. You know that avenue, right?
Yeah, but like I haven't done psychedelics in a way of using it to connect to a higher part of myself,
Okay.
let's say, or a higher thing.
Yeah.
So I always hear people that did ayahuasca, they get in touch with God,
Yeah.
and then they have to do ayahuasca again to get in touch with God again.
Yeah. And so that's where I'm a little bit less excited, because that's when I'm like, okay, now you're going back to the thing over and over again to get an experience,
Yeah.
as opposed to letting that experience become more integrated into your being. But what I've also heard people say is you go back to it as many times till when you go back to it and there's nothing there to find anymore.
Mm.
So, I mean, I had someone, because I had my DMT experience. Ronnie will be listening and saying, "What are you doing? What are you talking about this?" But in the DMT experience, what I noticed was that was an experience. I had a full experience of feeling one with nature. Conceptually, I might have spoken about it before, but afterwards, I felt grounded as an experience of, wow, that's what it feels like.
Mm.
So yeah, I wouldn't say that was something that I necessarily had access to without having done having that experience, right?
I think the most expensive investment I've done in courses was your one,
Yeah.
and the Oriental medicine education that I did.
Uh-huh.
But your one was really the most, like, I went in as with a lot of bags, and I came out much lighter, and it was impactful.
Yeah. Well, thank you. I mean, if you think about it, the idea behind the course, of course, wasn't even that I gave it. It was that I participated and held one thing.
Yeah.
Remember what the one thing was, or is that?
Like, whatever comes up, we dive into it.
Well, yeah, it was that, but it was even more nuanced than that. The only criteria for it was, I mean, just for those watching, I gave a 15-month course, and I said, we're going to come together for 5 months. There's no name on the course. If you need a name, then don't show up, because there's no name for this course. I didn't even know what the curriculum was before we started. And basically what it came down to is a very, very simple idea, was that if one is triggered at any moment for any reason around any subject, whatever the content that we're discussing is totally irrelevant. Like totally, like we do not even spend an ounce of time trying to speak about information. Now we go into what's going on with you.
Mm.
And that was like the most beautiful discoveries happen when you put your Geiger counter really sensitive. So like all of a sudden, like any little radioactive activity, all of a sudden becomes like an incredible exploration and discovery.
It was hilarious. Like, Andy didn't do any marketing. Like, I wanted to join and didn't want me to join. and
I knew you were going to be trouble, and you were. So I mean, I already knew what I was saying, not inviting in.
Well, there were also people that wanted to do the course and they wanted more information, and he just wouldn't give them anything to hold on to. Like, why would I do your course? And Andy would be like, "Oh, I don't see any reason why you would want to do the course." So in the end,
but it's true, because the exploration, if you're looking for something outside of yourself and you think I'm going to be able to give it to you, then I've got an expectation I have to fulfill the entire course.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the beauty of it is we were like, what, 6 people?
Yeah, 6 people.
And we all knew each other. It was like a course that we invested in just to spend time with Andy.
Yeah, and by the way, I really invited people I wanted to spend time with, right? I mean, honestly, like it was as much for me a joy, because remember, I invited other trainers in, and then I participated. So in that way, there was this beautiful opportunity for me to sort of be present in my own learning with a group. Yeah. And the only thing I held space for, and this is what I think is incredible for a trainer, is that if you think to yourself, it isn't personal. Like, it's not the trainer, it's who can hold the space. And who can hold the space is who can allow the discomfort that's going on in the group and not react to it in a way that the group now has to defend, but it's actually inviting more and more dialogue as people are interacting. Yeah. So if you're frustrated with the other person, they're like, "Oh, I noticed that I'm frustrated." There's all these tools in circling, and I mean, I understand the tools and the tricks, but it somehow loses the authenticity when it doesn't come embodied. So I'm always about an experience that's embodied. That's how I. By the way, no one knows this yet, but we're going to let you know now, is that we were working with Kathleen Dixon trying to get her audio levels perfect. And in doing that, we screwed it up. So she's now had to turn her computer on and off. So although Bambos and I have been speaking fluidly, we've been stalling so that Kathleen could get back and get ready to come on. So just that you're aware of that. But before we let her on, I would love to do a few things more specifically to her now. So first of all, Kathleen, we have a bond, which is quite special. You don't necessarily know, although you know possibly the woman, is that Kathleen's mom was basically like my adopted mom, right? So after my mom died, I adopted kind of another mom, and that woman died of cancer just about a year and a half afterwards. So it was really, really hard for me to like take on another person in my life that I could lose again. So it was not easy to find a mother figure because it was associated with a lot of pain. So Kathleen's mom was together with my dad, right? And basically she's very street smart. She was Alcoholics Anonymous, so she'd known how to kind of deal with people that had issues. So she was always there for me, even when I couldn't be there for myself, and she knew how close she could get, right, and how she could give her love without necessarily allowing me to I had to find her. And she died, I guess it would be now maybe 2 or 3 years ago, of cancer as well. So in that way, Kathleen and I have had contact through that experience. And yeah, I've noticed for 2 years on her Facebook page that she's always going to trainings. Every other month, it's like another training. She's in front of a banner with another banner of something. And then there's always her shaking hands with people I don't know, but appear to be important, like that's what I've seen like for months. And I'm in my mind, I'm sitting back on Facebook going, ka-ching, 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 another dollar, another, I'm calculating like, this is expensive. Like that, those aren't cheap courses.
Especially and include the traveling, huh?
Yeah, including the traveling and the hotels. So I'm sitting there, and it's funny. This session started. It's $20,000 in courses. I wrote $20,000 without having talked to her because I think that's a safe number. And she's like, no, Andy, it's more like 90,000. And that's when I scribbled it out on the title and said, okay, we gotta let's do it. Let's really put the real number there. And so what I want to have and just going through is that she's decided to go on a journey, and I want to hear how that journey's gone for her. Like, where did she feel like maybe she wouldn't have done it again, or she did it because she needed to learn something? I've even seen her go through the property. There's like these kind of courses where you get into properties and they teach you how to manage money. It's very much Rich Dad, Poor Dad, this kind of Guy Kawasaki stuff as well. So I'd love to hear what she got from all these things and where she would invest money going forward after having done all that.
Let's bring her on.
Let's hope her audios work. Yes.
So can you hear me now?
We hear you, and we don't even hear the hissing anymore, so it's perfect.
So what's in your t-shirt?
My laptop, it says save the chubby unicorns.
Love it.
So that was San Diego Zoo. My aunt and I went with my husband. Yeah, my laptop still hasn't finished. It's 10 years old. And when you said shut it off and turn it on, I thought this is a bad idea. But chaos, right?
We got a perfect audio, so it was worth the time and effort. That's great.
Well, now I'm on the iPad and I have my headset. This is what I walk in every day when I take my walk. And listen to podcasts. You. So good morning.
How was it to hear that intro?
Oh, I heard most of it because I flipped my phone on to see what I was missing. And I think it was good. Mom's actually been gone 5.5 years.
Wow, 5 years.
Yeah, I know. Crazy. It's because she died in 2014.
Yeah, she died when Case died. They died literally.
Yes, like within weeks.
Within weeks of each other.
So Case is actually Andy's mentor.
Yeah, she knows.
No, I mean I'm talking to the audience.
Oh, the audience. Yeah.
The audience might not know who Case is.
I forget there's the other people here.
But and I remember when Mom died, and you called me and we FaceTimed. Yeah. And I didn't know until I read your book that Case had died within a week or two of Mom, and that you were able to be there and to hold space for me while you were going through what you were going through was just, I don't know, I'll say it to you now, it was beautiful, and thank you. Yeah. So.
Yeah. Yeah. Well. So we both lost a mom. Yeah.
Yeah, we both lost a mom. It's funny being a mom. I have 4 children. And I love all my children very much, and that is my disclaimer. But you always want your kids to be more. You always have this vision of how they should grow up, and if they just listen to me, and I know my parents probably had the same thought. And so what I've discovered is that there are two people on the planet that if I were going to adopt some kids, they would be my ideal children. And I think that you were probably one of Mom's ideal children when I think about, that was what your role was, in addition to, being her friend and someone she loved very dearly. You were the ideal.
Once that was probably the most vulnerable thing, obviously, you ever told me, was, of course, that you were jealous of me for some time because of the relationship we had.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because you got all the parts of Mom without all my baggage, without, the history. You got a different history. And, I know that you also had your history with your dad. So, I think we all get to grow up with who we are given, and then we get to seek out what we need. And I've been super, super blessed to keep finding those people as you mentioned this journey, and I will be on it till the day I die. And I listen to a lot of, not a lot, I listen to a couple of people who I like the way they're living their lives. And when I was younger, my dad would try and get us to listen to personal development tapes, Zig Ziglar. And that's the first name that came to me. There were several others. And I would just be like rolling my eyes and being like, God, if I have to listen to one more personal development tape, I'm going to jump out of the car, because he'd have us trapped. He'd put the cassette in back when we had cassettes, and then he'd be like, we're going on a 2-hour drive. You get to listen to Zig Ziglar now. And I'm like, oh my God. Dennis Waitley, that was another one. So the groundwork was laid. I just was in complete resistance of it. And as an adult, the people that I listen to now are always talking about, you are it's a really common phrase in the personal development world, that you are kind of the makeup of the 5 closest people to you. Who do you hang out with? And are you learning from them, and are you helping them to grow, or are they dragging you down?
Wow.
And every time I hear it these days, I look around at my people. Nobody drags me down. Nobody puts me down.
Can we slow down for one moment? Can you say that line again?
Probably not.
That you are a makeup of the 5 people you hang out with most. Is that what the line was?
That's the essential. Yeah, it's not exactly, but yes. So I am the makeup of the 5 people that I hang out with the most.
Let's just slow down a second. I just want to take that in for one moment. I've never thought about it that way.
Because then you think about who were the 5 people.
Yeah. I do it intuitively, but I've never thought about it like as a statement like you've made. And it's a powerful statement.
Yeah. I live that also. So I prefer to be alone.
Yeah.
So actually,
I was going to say the 5 people are, I hate you. You're okay today. You're like, there's like the 5 people for me.
So it's like, I prefer to really have like 0 contact than to compromise it.
Yeah.
So beautifully said.
Like that.
I also like the expression, look at your messages on Messenger or text. And if the messages are uplifting you, then you have the right people in your life.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook these days. I love it when people go, oh my God, did you see that thing on Facebook? And I'm like, you're going to have to like share it to me, because I don't search it anymore. Oh, can we swear on this show? I'm sorry.
Absolutely.
No,
Okay,
we
cool.
don't swear.
Oh.
Except Bambo says fuck and bitch and all that kind of stuff. So as long as Bambo says it, that's okay.
So that phrase, and it was really powerful back when I started doing this, because there were people in my life that I allowed to be in my life because I was afraid of them not liking me if I wanted them not to be in my life. That's been a huge factor in my life in picking the people that I pick, and in keeping people who I don't, to no longer serve me. If they aren't benefiting my life, and they're not joy, if they're dragging down. One of the guys I listen to, Dean Graziosi, talks about the battery chargers and the battery drainers. And most people in my life today are chargers, and I don't have drainers. But every once in a while, I will be in the company of somebody who just sucks. Like where I just want to blow my brains out for a second, because if they can't stop talking, I'm going to die.
Nice.
But
I like the
it's
thing that
rare.
I've heard about your courses, which I'm really loving at the moment, is that there's all these kind of meta level kind of statements, these metaphorical statements.
I don't think these are courses, though. It sounds like these are more podcasts.
How,
No, these are here's what's funny. So I signed up for my first course. Okay, so my first course. This is funny because when I looked at the questions and I thought about, when did you really start even trying to do something where you were like going to give somebody money and they were going to teach you how to make money. That was my goal. That was my initial. And that was in, let's see, if I got sober in 2003, say like 1999, maybe 2000, Herbalife. You may have heard of Herbalife. It's a big, it's like Amway back for your grandparents. And the idea was that I would sell these products to people, and the products that they were selling were protein shakes and the like, health beneficial stuff. And I'm like, okay, I'm health is good, and they guaranteed that you would use the product, lose weight, be an example, and then you would sell this product to other people. And the part I didn't know about, I think, and maybe I did, but was like ignoring it, was, and once you get good at this, bring other people into the program. And so I don't want to use the word pyramid because I don't think it was quite, multi-level marketing is the word that they use. Yeah. So it was a multi-level marketing program where you had a down line and you had an up line and you made money and all the money went everywhere. And so I did that. I got a lot of credit cards. I went into debt for about $11,000. And the reason that I didn't do well at it was because I have self-esteem issues, or I had them really bad then. And I was supposed to bring people on, and people who wanted to do this were desperate people. So one example was, there was a mom, she had 4 children. She was single, and she just needed some way out, and it cost a lot of money, and you had to do a lot of work. And all of a sudden I realized that I was selling something that put me into debt, and I wasn't bad off, and I didn't want to give something to somebody. So I didn't have confidence in my ability to do it. And I certainly, because I had my experience, I didn't think anyone else could either.
Wow.
And so I had a lot of debt, and I walked away from it, the program, because I couldn't do it. I couldn't try and talk people into something I didn't think would benefit them. Looking back on that, mostly my issue was about me.
Yeah. I mean, think about all the multi-level marketing really takes an incredible amount of charisma, because you almost selling yourself more than the product. People want to be like you. So you actually have to almost create a persona, which is not all that different than any marketing or promotion of anything else. You actually have to create a persona that people buy.
And you're mostly you're actually selling to your network.
Yeah.
Yes. And
you need to hang out with people that you actually don't want to spend time with.
Potentially.
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it's funny because I didn't hang out with people. I back then I was I smoked a lot of pot, and I drank a lot, and I was trying to make a better life for myself, but I hadn't taken care of the basics of me yet, So when mom passes, right? So I get sober, I live, my life is getting better. There's a lot of good stuff in my 12-step program that has helped me to move stuff out of the way, but I'm a slow learner, and I'm stubborn, and I'm resistant. And I know that. I know that better now than I ever did. And then my mother, gets sick, and she dies, and she leaves us a good deal of money. My brother and I split that money, and he got the house, I got the cash. And I wanted to do the right thing with that money. I mean, it was a lot of freaking money, and I'd never had that much money. And so I paid off a lot of things, and I had money left, and I was like, well, how am I going to make this money grow? How am I going to honor my mother's memory with this money? And what's the best vehicle to invest in that for me is something that I might want to do? And I had taken the Richard Kiyosaki real estate course once before, and my husband was like, "Oh, I remember that. We should do that," because he had introduced me to that book, The Rich Dad Poor Dad, the guy I'm married to now. And so I signed up for the real estate course, right? How to purchase homes, how to flip, what financing is like. I mean, all of it, because, well, you know, when I look back, I was grieving. I was not of right mind. And I did not know that I am someone who looks for the easy way out and a quick fix.
Yeah, I want to go into that, because this is the thing that actually why this session was so interesting for me. And it's something that I was always a bit anxious of when I saw the number of courses, right? Because I was like, as soon as I see that, I will often feel that the course becomes an escapism in order to try to fill the thing that wasn't, or what wasn't comfortable. Now, one course makes sense because you're trying to learn a skill, but when there are multiple courses over time, then of course I'm always thinking, oh, there's like there's a charge you get from a course, like a Tony Robbins. Obviously, you see how you come out of the Tony Robbins, and yet people go back to it over and over again. So the question is, what are they not getting the first time that causes the need to go back over multiple occasions, right?
Well, I kind of recognize a lot of myself in you, not so much in the courses, but you say that you were an alcoholic, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so I was a drug addict. And when I came out of my drug addiction, I had to find healthy addictions. And I went in full on into fighting sports and food, and I felt like I had to catch up with life or something, because I missed 10 years of my life. So when I'm hearing you, it feels like you felt, oh shit, like what have I done all these years? So now I need to better myself. So it really, when I saw even the title of this podcast, like, fuck, like, what is she trying to fill up?
Oh wow. Make up for.
Oh, I love
so
it.
Now it makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yeah, and that's exactly it. I remember when I got sober, you know, I'd been drinking and drugging for 20 years, and yeah, I had mediocred my life. And so when I got out of that, I did have a lot of moments of, I wasted so much time, I need to hurry up and catch up. So when you say that, yes, absolutely. And so then when Mom died, it was like, what can I do to, honestly, because the woman's dead and she doesn't even know anymore, but I needed to make her proud of me, you know, and I know that she would say that she already is. So once again, the issue wasn't her, it was me. And so I signed up for the first course. And here's what I've learned after taking all those courses. I've taken I spent money on 1, 2, 4 real estate courses, an options investment course, specifically to try and learn something. And a social media marketing course that was like $9,000. Which honestly, and that was at the point right after I did that, was when Andy and I had to talk about the charge.
Like, I'm actually curious about something. When you select a course, like if I'm going to invest in a course, I always look at the person who's teaching. And if I feel they're not living it, then I'm no way going to invest in it. Like, I don't want to go into a course where it's only heady. I want it to be embodied. And I kind of feel that might resonate with you.
It was the people. It was the fact that so Richard Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, made his money in real estate. That to me, and having read several of his books, it made sense that he seemed to know what he was talking about, and I could resonate with a lot of it. I cannot even. Oh yes, I can. I was going to say I couldn't even tell you how we ended up with Dean Graziosi. Dean Graziosi started in real estate when he was 19 years old. And when I met him, he was 48. And he had built a multi-million-dollar business, buying and selling homes, renting homes, doing everything that Robert Kiyosaki did. And the part that intrigued me about him was he was real. He wasn't a guy trying to shyster. I believe that. I still believe that. He was a man who had learned how to do something, and the pitch was, I can help you with the shortcuts. So you don't have to go through all the same things. If you're going to make mistakes, make your own, make new ones. Don't make mine. And man can't spell, and he shared, some real stuff that he was going through as he was going through it while we were on these things. So the way that we stumbled on him was my husband was on Facebook. One of those, Facebook ads came up, and we got the disc, and I read the book, and then we signed up for a conference, and it was a 3-day conference, and it was a mix. It was a mix of personal development and various aspects of real estate.
Yeah.
And
But
I think,
by the way, before we go too far in these courses, I'd rather actually hear about your experiences, because the more those courses are, I actually feel like those courses themselves would have been part of your development, but I actually want to, if more, understand your journey in this, like where you yourself saw and discovered things that were like changing your life, and then what had to happen for that to happen.
okay, well, that's where this is.
Yeah.
I didn't expect the personal development part. I expected someone to teach me how to sell real estate, not reveal to me my deepest, darkest secrets and what was getting in my way. And in attending all these courses, and this is what I thought about this morning on my walk, in attending all these courses, because I remember one of the questions was, would you do it again or something, and I would for the same reason that I wouldn't take any day away from my drug addiction. Because it taught me, it's like, can I go back in time and change one thing and then everything else in my life is going to be perfect? I wouldn't change any of this, because I wouldn't have peeled back all the bullshit and gotten underneath all of the pain that kept me from completing these courses, because I didn't complete any of them. I'm sitting in a house right now that we bought using a lot of the tools that we were taught. But did I finish any of the video courses? Not one. I did read all the books. But what I got out of the books wasn't about how to sell real estate. And it surprised me. The book that changed me the most and first was called Millionaire Success Habits. And who doesn't want to be a millionaire, and who doesn't want success habits? But what I learned in that book was that I had some seriously limiting beliefs about how I approached life. That I did surround myself with people who did not lift me up. That I got in my own way all the time. It looked like I was working hard and I was always busy, but it was always busy work. I wasn't getting anywhere. I was spinning my wheels, and it took 18 months for me to really become comfortable with seeing that, with really working through, my biggest epiphany, I'll tell you, my biggest epiphany with all those courses and all that learning, was discovering that I needed some serious change in my development as a human being. Hang on. And then I wasn't willing to do the work that I said I was willing to do. So I've been in recovery in an active program for 16 and almost, and a half years. This month, 16 and a half years. And, always been resistant. And if you told me I was resistant, I would tell you to fuck off. Because I couldn't see it. I couldn't see my stubbornness. I couldn't see, my husband used to laugh because he would have an idea and I would tell him I didn't like it. And once he smiled at me and I said, "What's the smile for?" And he said, "Come back to me when it's your idea." And at first it pissed me off to hear that. What do you mean come back when it's my idea? Because it always had to be my idea. Because I couldn't hear other people, because I wouldn't listen. to anybody but myself. I was so scared of trusting anybody else to maybe have an idea I hadn't considered, to maybe be right, which meant that I would be wrong. And and that I couldn't swallow that, and the thing that I got out of these was not so much the training, and the rah-rah was good. There's a lot of rah-rah in those 3-day conferences. And I even hired a personal coach, someone to watch. So for 18 months, I talked to this woman, and it really helped me to see where I was holding myself back and who I was blaming. Oh my God, that was a huge one. When I got into program, one of the questions, you have to do this whole chart, and you have to figure out, who do you blame for the way your life is? And I was like, I don't blame anybody. I brought all this on myself, except that I blamed everybody all the time. If I was having a bad day, you did something. If things weren't going right, it was your fault. If I experienced a disappointment, I looked to see who I could put that on. And I discovered that about like 9 months, 12 months ago. That all of the disappointments in my life and all the blame and all my anger, because my husband kept saying, you seem so angry. And I thought he was crackers. I was like, what do you mean I seem? I'm always smiling. I'm optimistic. I'm doing for others. But yeah, underneath all that, I was always angry. And I was angry because people were not living up to my expectations. And I didn't see that for so long. And so the growth that I received in attending these was honestly tripping and falling again and again, and being like, why can't I get this? Why won't I do this? Because I didn't see failure as an option. I didn't see it as a way to get to the next level. I saw it as, I could hear voices in my head. Oh, and this was the big epiphany. The voices in my head I used to think were my dad. You always got if you only did better, because my dad always used to say to me, well, that was pretty good, but. And as an adult, I thought, oh, well, there was my problem. But then when I started digging in, I was like, no, it's not my dad. My dad has always been there for me, and he's always been my cheerleader and always been my supporter. So that was someone I was blaming. And then I went on to mom. So I was given it for adoption when I was born. And a month later, so my mother didn't hold me. My mother didn't get to hold me for a month, and may never have held me, except that for some crazy reason, my father came back and said, let's try and make a go of this, Annie. And she's like, okay, because I'm sure she didn't want to give me up, but she just thought there was no alternative. So we have abandonment at birth. And then when I was 9, my mother left again. And as a child, there was no explanation. My parents were not equipped to explain to us what was going on, that it was not our fault, that they just, stuff had happened. And so we were left in the dark for a long, long time. I mean, years. I always hoped they get back together. And I always was trying to earn my mother's love. And it's funny because my husband and I were listening to a free thing from my friend Hollis's, and David asked a question. Dave Hollis is the husband, and the question was, which of your parents did you seek love from? And I was always thinking it was my dad. And when I circled mom, I started tearing up. And the next question was, what did you have to do to earn that love? And I did everything. I sent her mail, and I made phone calls, and I forgave her every time she canceled a weekend. So Kathleen? Then I blamed her. Huh?
Kathleen.
Yes.
Go
ahead.
Yeah, I'm just taking I'm just taking it all in. I just want to invite us to take a deep breath in. It feels like when I hear you share, it also feels like you're still processing a lot, and I'm really feeling you, by the way. And somehow when you were talking about you did everything to get love from your mother, then I was like, wow, like, did you go into alcohol and drugs because it was too painful and you had to numb it, or to get the attention, or both?
Oh, good question. I never would have thought it was getting attention. I didn't know she was an alcoholic until, God, I mean, it wasn't something she told us about when she got sober. So I don't think I knew she was an alcoholic and an addict until I was way into my 20s. And I started smoking and drinking at 17. Actually, no, the reason I started drinking was it maybe was part of that. So I wasn't happy with my life. And the first time that I used drugs and alcohol was pot to spite a boyfriend who had done me. To me, it was a pretty serious wrong. And the second time, I mean, should I tell you the serious wrong? Can your listeners listen to that? So I lived in a garage. We changed diesel truck tires for a living. And I had nowhere to live. So I stayed at this garage with my boyfriend and the workers and the guy who owned the place. And the guy who owned the place was a really overweight pig of a man who, when I was 17, he asked me if I would give him a blowjob because he couldn't do it himself. And I told him no. And my boyfriend wanted to know why I refused. And I was angry and I was hurt and I didn't know what else to do. Unfortunately, the way that I thought love worked was that you had sex with guys and they loved you for that. And I've since come to realize that is not true. And that was, the beginning of a long line of me seeking that to fill that hole that I had. And then the alcohol was to numb the feeling because I had some unwanted pregnancies and I had abortions. And I couldn't take the shame of that. So drinking helped. So drinking and smoking pot were the things that I did for 20 years. And I did other things. But those were the main things. And did I do those for my mom? No, mostly I did that to escape because I felt like crap. And when I get around to how I blame my mom, I had to put that aside because the voice in my head wasn't her either. The voice in my head was me. I realized yesterday, and I told my husband this, that the people in my life today are so supportive and so understanding and just always lifting me up and always trying. And the only person who gets in my way is me. And so the part of my journey that I'm on now is, why is that? Why is it that I still today, because I took a lot of courses, and when it didn't work really fast and it didn't happen, like I didn't get that instant gratification, I'd quit the course and I'd buy another course. I have a bunch of uncompleted courses because I wasn't getting what I needed and I thought I knew what I needed. And the thing that has helped me the most is that amongst all these courses is that personal development aspect, that asking me to look into myself and see what's really in there, and so blaming others, being resistant to any kind of change, which is ridiculous because life is change, and being part of a community instead of trying to be outside of it, which is really tough for me. I want to be a part of, but I'm still scared. I don't want to be hurt by people who are well-intentioned. I don't want to be hurt by people who aren't, So today when I say, I tell this to a lot of people that I'm just trying to be a better version of myself. And when I look at what a better version of me is, I just like to be comfortable in my own skin. I was a people pleaser. I wanted everyone to like me growing up. I wanted everyone to like me as an adult.
Where are you right now,
It's
Kathleen?
where am I right?
Yeah, like I noticed you're going into a story of how it is or how it was, but where if you tune into your body, where are you right now in this moment?
This moment is good. Today, right now in my life, I look for
Hold on.
joy and
Slow down.
gratitude.
Slow down. This moment. That
This
story.
moment.
You're with us right now. Look at us in the screen. How are you right now, this moment?
I'm kind of sad.
Yeah.
I'm sad because I don't tell people this stuff. The people I tell are in the rooms, in my 12-step rooms. When I have rough days, I call them and I tell them the truth. And when I have good days, I tell them the truth. And we haven't been in rooms in 2 months. We have the Zoom thing, but and I'm lonely. I miss my people. And I guess sometimes I get really it's like, earlier when Bombos mentioned trying to catch up. I'm still trying to catch up. I'm still trying to make good.
So what if you would actually just take a moment to be with us without having to add words to it and just stay with whatever's there?
Yeah.
Like we're here.
We're here. Sharing with you, being with you right now.
And just know that you're fully welcome just like this.
Wish we could hand over a tissue to you.
Oh, I hear you did. Thank you.
Yeah. You may not be aware, but if you haven't seen Bambos's channel or show or whatever, not show, but then you have to spend some time with Bambos, because he goes on live for an hour each day and he turns the camera on and he doesn't have any specific thing to talk about. And in one of his sessions, he spent 1 hour crying.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was trying to find. I don't even know how to find Bambos. I searched Bambos and I searched something else.
If you search Bambos Charles, you'll find him.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, the one thing I've seen that's an incredible strength and one that took me into my 40s was the beauty of being present with the emotion without needing story of the emotion. And I see both of you sort of, you're going there probably a bit more easier at the moment than I see. You're still, it's hard to stay with the emotion because it gets transferred into story. Like I'm sad, it's not I'm sad and this is the story behind the sadness, then that I tend to see reinforces old patterns. At least I've seen that in myself. Where if I just say I'm sad and I sit with the sadness, then it sort of grounds itself and then it passes and I'm now whatever other emotion shows up. I don't know if you've seen you've said it when you've done your hour-long sessions just crying. You said you feel incredible afterwards. People say to you, "Hey, do you want to talk?" And you're like, "I don't need to talk now. I've already done it." Like as if that was stayed as perpetual, as opposed to a moment of letting release out.
Yeah, it really helps to just be with the emotion.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to analyze it and why is it here and what's going on. Like I go into my head and I disconnect.
Yeah.
And it just drags on.
And I could see the fact that we had this topic as well already put a burden on you, as if it's now a talk show where you have responsibility to fulfill this subject matter. And now as I'm sitting, I'm like, yeah, actually we started there, but obviously we can go wherever we go, which is now where we are, just being present with you. And of course, we want you to feel fully seen. So I don't want to interrupt too much, but as well, I'd rather spend all of our time being together and not trying to make a show about a topic that isn't necessarily relevant for us at this moment. Right?
Beautiful.
That's always how I hope. But it's a struggle. All right. I told Bambos, I told both of you, I think earlier, I create a show title so people who are interested might come in who don't know us, you, or anything outside of the fact that the title interests them. And then I don't know if that title is going to be interesting to us when we begin our talk. So we don't know. I mean, we've had some talks where we've actually had a show title, but we didn't end up talking about that very much on the show because it all of a sudden didn't have any relevance.
No, like my takeaway is, if you're not connected to the emotion, you can invest all you want, all the money in the world outside of yourself to try to get people to do it for you. But if you're not willing to go into yourself,
stay there as well,
and stay there, then pretty much you're stuck. You're always relying on the exterior, and there's no holding, like being able to hold on to your own 2 feet.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It sounds like a replacement for the alcoholism, actually, in some ways, right? And the funny thing is, Bambos does it as well. Bambos, you do it as well. Like you do it in more of what one might see as a constructive, more sustainable way. Bambos wakes up at 5 every morning. It's freezing cold outside. He has only shorts on and he puts weights. He jogs a few miles to a pond. And if there isn't ice on top, it's not cold enough. And then he jumps in the ice pond in freezing cold weather so that he can feel the intensity of being alive. So that he can feel like, I have to go into like the deepest recesses of my brain to make peace with this. And now I see what it means to, you posted a video on your wall where you shared.
I post a lot of videos. So which book?
The Wounded, after you read The Wounded Healer.
Oh, okay. That book. Good book.
You posted a video and where you were crying when you spoke about it. You said a friend wrote a book for me, is what I think the way you started it. I'm assuming that was my book, by the way, because you said you read it yesterday and then you read it. Might have been somebody else's book, and I'm like, oh.
It was your book. It was your book.
The best thing for you to say to us, it wasn't your book, Andy.
I actually would have loved.
I would have loved it if you said that.
But it was true. It was true. It was your book. Damn.
Yeah, but you were
not that quick.
You were crying and like in sharing what that meant to you. And now after this talk, I understand that book is about the self-love. Only about self-love, pretty much. And so if I hear correctly, like if I see your journey, what I also say is like that aspect of self-love is sort of the last bastion. That's not last, there's no last, but that aspect is like somehow when that is in existence, then everything else is going to be much easier to access. So without self-love, everything else is still an escape, is what I'm kind of getting at.
Yeah. And getting to that, you're right, is I guess I hadn't thought of it that way, first sitting with the emotions. I do that a lot. And sitting here with you guys, so you're on the screen and I'm on a screen and people may or may not be watching. And in my brain, the ego says, well, they don't want to see a woman just sitting here crying or the lies out. But
I actually thought that was quite beautiful.
Well, thank you. Thank you for holding the space. Thank you for taking the deep breath, because it is there in my head. There's always expectation. There's always some shit to live up to.
Yeah.
and self-love. I practice a lot of self-care, and coming here to this house for the week was to sit with myself. I do it more and more, where I just have been practicing being, just sitting here,
Mm.
without having to accomplish anything.
Yeah.
And that's hard for me. When we fall asleep at night, my husband says either I wasn't very productive today or I was very productive today.
He says that.
And yeah, yeah. And when I
And
hear it lately,
yeah.
it's it's challenging to me in a way that I don't look at my day as have I been productive, and only very lately.
I was
It's
going to
not
say,
about the
I would love
accomplishment.
to invite you to say this day was totally unproductive, like, and celebrate that.
I'm moving toward that. I haven't gotten there yet. You should see how much productive I've done here at this house just so I could have a bed to sleep in.
Yeah.
Because
Productivity is overrated.
well,
Yeah.
it's overrated, but it's also, unfortunately, to make an income, it's kind of a little necessary. And
Yeah.
it's finding the time that needs to be productive, and then making sure all that other time is just about
Mm.
just sitting and breathing.
Yeah.
There's my whole life was always go 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 and be exhausted. And when the pandemic happened, when we all had to stay home, we weren't allowed to be productive.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not that we weren't allowed to, but I was super uncomfortable.
Yeah. I think a lot of people
Super
were.
uncomfortable sitting. I wasn't going to sit in front of the couch and watch Netflix. And I was not inclined to clean my house, which apparently a lot of people did. I was not one of those
Yeah.
people. I'm anti-house cleaning. So I started meditating more, and I started writing more, and I just started reading more. Sitting in our yard, we have a beautiful garden, and I just sit in it and I listen. I shut my eyes and I listen. I listen to the birds, and I listen to the wind in the trees, the neighbors, because everybody's home. And I don't do anything. And it's a very weird sensation. It's becoming more comfortable,
Yeah.
but it's a weird sensation to do
Well, I would
nothing.
say Making Peace. There's a book called Doing Nothing. I think I gave it to you one time to read. Doing
This is
Nothing.
right here.
By the way, we're coming up on the hour, and Bambos is
Yeah.
going to have to go to his next engagement. He has a bi-weekly gathering of Authentic Relating Amsterdam, and they start in a few moments. So
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Bombos.
yeah,
You're absolutely welcome.
thank you. It was great being with you. Thank you for
It's nice being with you too.
sharing a bit of this journey. Yeah. And I'm sure there's a lot more to share going forward. I wish I had more time. Your video gave me such an incredible feeling. I wanted to show it on this cast, but we'll have to do that another time.
Please
Yeah.
share it on your wall.
Yeah, I'll
I'd
share
love
it.
to see it.
I'll ask her if it's okay to share it first. I don't want to
Yeah, you can
share
share
that
it.
because it was so
We're
touching.
we're gonna make you famous.
Yeah.
I don't want to be famous anymore.
Nice. That's the sure way of getting famous.
Damn
I
it.
love you.
I
Yeah.
love you.
Yeah.
And
Bye.
Bombos, I love you too. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Bye bye, sweetie.
Thanks, Fambos. Yeah. Yeah, we invited in really the journey, and that is the journey. The journey is the messy part of going into everything to learn the thing that you went there to get, you actually didn't get. You got something far more valuable. I think that's part of life. We go in with the expectation, and then all of a sudden the expectation is sort of confused with the actual real value. Yeah. So thank you for being with us on this this episode of A Wonderful Chaos. Yeah.
Who do we have tomorrow?
Tomorrow we have Chris Garrell. He's an author, TED speaker. He's written several books, including one on the dark night of the soul. And the dark night of the soul is really this moment in life when you're really wondering, what am I doing here? And do I want to continue? And what is this deep, dark hole that I don't believe I'm ever going to get out of going to teach me?
Great.
And he's been there. He's done it. He's got some incredible life history to share with us. And we'll have him tomorrow on for the hour. Yeah.
Nice. So see you tomorrow at 5, guys.
See you. Thank you for joining us on A Wonderful Chaos. Bye-bye.